The Ten Commandments are so old-fashioned. Well, yes, they are if you take them only at face value, but let's be honest, a lot of what's written in the Bible can be deemed old-fashioned. Welcome to Calm in the Chaos, where we're going to look at some old ideas through a new lens. Years ago, I was gifted a small volume entitled Life's Little Instruction Book. Each page was one sentence long, encouraging the reader to take a certain action or think about a daily activity in a new way. I recently came upon that tiny book when I unpacked a forgotten box in the garage. Life's Little Instruction Book. Now, I feel collectively as a nation we need an instruction book right now, and the Constitution isn't exactly cutting it with the interpretations of the nation's highest judicial personnel. As I thought about this more deeply, I remembered that an instruction tool for life that predates the Constitution is the 10 rules that a man named Moses was inspired to tell his people, the Israelites, long before even the European countries were geographically defined. Upon my revisiting those 10 dictates, I found that the translations I had on hand all presented black and white, no gray area, do this and don't do that. Sort of concrete rules. And that's where a few of them began to feel outdated, old-fashioned, in need of an updated lens through which to view the lessons. These are not meant to be confining restrictions which limit and control our lives. They're meant to guide us to have a more fulfilling life spiritually. The first 4 on the list have to do with building a relationship with God. Now, believe me when I say that whatever your interpretation of the word God is up to you. No one is an expert on your relationship with God except you. The first challenge asks us to have no other gods except one. This can sound rather egotistical, having been written by God, but first, God doesn't deal in ego, and second, we can understand that this makes our spiritual life less complicated if we can focus on only one source of divine love, because it's like a spouse in a 2-person marriage saying, I don't want you to have any other lovers but me. I get it. Let's look through the lens of current day life. George Orwell and I might agree that our God has become a tiny screen. A screen that strips us of time for reflection because Googling is just so easy. We give ourselves no time to wonder, to think, to ponder. We just click an answer for just about everything. I hear a silent suggestion in that commandment to schedule time without my iPad, my tablet, my phone, or my computer, and no earbuds when I take a walk either. The second challenge asks us to have no idols, made more difficult in the age of American Idol, asking us to adore and perhaps lust over or be envious of another person. Idolizing means giving exaggerated value, meaning, and power to something or someone who shouldn't have it. When we think of the characteristics of a mature spiritual life, we see peace within a person, no matter what the circumstances they're living in. We see a great appreciation for the mystery and majesty of creation. We feel a calm sense of love when we are in their presence. A spiritually mature person has no need of wanting to be or be like someone else. The deeper suggestion here is to be aware of where we spend our attention and then evaluate as to how it serves us in our soul's growth. What is our idol? We shouldn't have one. Thirdly, don't use the name of God in vain. Now, of course, we can try to avoid saying, "Oh my God," as an exclamatory. But this is a first-level interpretation of the commandment. I think not using the name in vain means to not hide behind it or use as a shield the name of Jesus, Christianity, or God. I cite the political movement that call themselves Christians but have lost their way in following the true lessons of Jesus. Memorizing and spouting Bible verses is meaningless to me if your heart cannot love your earthly siblings in the manner that Jesus taught. That's using the name in vain. The fourth challenge asks us to remember the Sabbath. Sabbath is a day of rest, a day when we break from our routines of life and meditate, reconnect, recharge ourselves for life. I know of nowhere that God has said Sunday or Saturday or any other day for that matter should be the Sabbath. So choose any day you want. Christian clergy friends of mine often choose Mondays as their Sabbath, since they're usually working hard on Sundays. Choose whatever day works for you, or choose just an hour or any time you want to light a candle, say a prayer, be quiet, and live in solitude for a bit. Or choose to make your Sabbath the full moon evening of every month. Take an evening walk or dance in that moonlight. Dance on your porch, outdoors. Wendell Berry said this in a poem. Accept what comes from silence, make the best you can of it. Of the little words that come out of the silence, like prayers prayed back to the one who prays. Make a poem that does not disturb the silence from which it came. The other 6 challenges are about forging healthy relationships with other people here on earth. Honoring our elders and those who teach us, which is just about everyone we meet, is number 6. This has to include allowing forgiveness to reign when we deal with one another and making our decisions out of a place of love when we work together. Not murdering has always been a tough one to unpack. For most of us, it's easy to say we'll never intentionally kill another human being. But over the years, this challenge has been interpreted as don't kill and don't murder. Murder is a very specific type of killing. There's an intention and planning involved, and the word is usually reserved for a human taking a human life. Killing can include our animal brothers and sisters, which may lead some people to exclude them from their diets. There are those among us who will not kill anything if they can possibly avoid it. A friend of mine traps the mice in her basement humanely and puts them in a little cage with food. She also welcomes spiders and fawns and most of the creatures with whom she shares her farm. As with most scripture, this is up to you to interpret in a way that makes sense for you to know that you're doing that which is for the highest good. Committing adultery is still heard through the lens of engaging sexually with another person, because that's technically the dictionary definition. But I'd like to open the aperture a bit to see a bigger picture. I think that behavior that is illicit may also have relevance here, because anything that pulls you away from being authentically and fully committed to a person who is your committed partner can be harmful to the relationship. These days, a Facebook session can do it. Think about that one. Stealing, lying, and yearning to have something that isn't yours are the last 3. And here, the broader lens reveals that stealing an idea without acknowledging the source, or stealing space in a conversation, in other words, monopolizing the airspace for yourself, these are all ways of gently stealing from other people. Lying is hard. A study from the University of Wisconsin gave us data that most of us lie. I guess I should have said not lying is hard. Lying, the understanding of lying, is what is so difficult. Here's what the data revealed. 21% of our lies are to avoid other people. 20% of our lies are in the form of humor, sort of a joke or a prank. 14% of our lies are to protect ourselves. 13% to impress or appear more favorable, and 11% of our lies are to protect another person. Lying has become more acceptable as a political strategy and a personal protection to avoid jail. But are all lies of equal strength? Is lying lying? What does telling a lie do to my soul? Saying that I love a gift when I really don't doesn't seem to be on par with professing that I did not put the cocaine in the car. Again, we each have to find the place on the continuum that makes sense for us to feel that we are behaving in a way that serves the highest good. Envy is never a productive feeling, even though it's quite valid. This is the don't covet commandment. You see, wanting a better life or a job that sustains my family and a vehicle to get me to that job is not coveting. Yearning for the health care that my neighbor has is not coveting. These are rights that should be afforded to every one of God's children, and it's the job of each of us to care for one another so that these situations can be corrected. I believe the challenge is about the yearning for material possessions and situations of another person. And so, if I'm in a position of privilege where I can help gain the rights and freedoms for my neighbors, I need to put my energies there. The bottom line of all this is that these 10 challenges may indeed be better suited for people who need lists. This is a good one to start with to evaluate how we're making choices and living our lives. The bottom line is that behaving in ways that create life and love and avoiding behaviors that distract us, deteriorate our souls, and stunt our spiritual growth is the way to be. In the end, love is all there is, and love is all there ever was. Last week, I read a beautiful summary of a How to Live list in a post by Reverend Diana Butler Bass. She sums up the way to continue our spiritual growth in a list of only 4 distinct verbs. Number 1, live with the wildness of surprise. Number 2, look for God in unexpected places. Number 3, enact God's manifesto of solidarity, friendship, hospitality, and prayer. And number 4, dwell in the Spirit of God. Wrapping up this God Talk today, I ask you to notice, where are your own priorities in regards to a life list? You could write a short list that portrays how you currently live your life. What if you had to make the new 10 Commandments or the new 4-part list that Diana Butler Bass made? Are you on the track that you'd like to be on? Is there something that needs your attention? If you're so inclined, I would really enjoy seeing your list. Email and text are good, but visiting in person is better. Let me know. Let's close with a short reading from Bishop Woody White. It's called Benediction. And now may the Lord torment you. May the Lord keep before you the faces of the hungry, the lonely, the rejected, and the despised. May the Lord afflict you with pain for the hurt, the wounded, the oppressed, the abused, the victims of violence. May God grace you with a burning thirst for justice and righteousness. May the Lord give you courage and strength and compassion to make ours a better world and to make your community a better community, to make your church a better church. May you do your best to make it so. And after you have done your best, may the Lord grant you peace. Blessings on all. Our music recommendation today is Tibetan flute music to play while you ponder the list of your own life instructions. We are an interfaith center, so combining the 10 Judeo-Christian challenges with Tibetan music makes perfect sense to me, and I hope it does for you too. God bless.